Hey, friends and fam. I'm Nathan. Thanks for being here. Oh, here I am, compelled again and feeling frustrated again. So let me tell you, stories. I want to share about stories and some thoughts and feelings around stories. I've done a few takes. I'm not going to freaking stop this time. I'm just going to record this one and see what happens and just go with it. And I'm going to post this, damn it, wherever it goes. Because like part of this I'm realizing is this compelled feeling that I spoke about in my last video that I'm honestly a little annoyed about is I feel like I need to work through this. I need to feel through it. I need to just be through it. And it's like I don't need to post videos. I don't need to. But there is this compelled energy, this compelled feeling that for myself, and I guess something about myself and even, I don't know, my life healing, my life being, I don't know. There's something about this compelled energy that that I feel like I need to just trudge through, right? Like there's a part of me that feels like I've spent much of my life and I keep putting my hand over my mouth. Anyway, I spent much of my life in quiet corners that I find that I just like to stay in because it feels safer, right? And I'm tired of doing that, I guess, is where I'm at. And I'm also feeling like I'm a feeler. I'm a feel through, feel with, feel. And there's something about that that part of myself that I am feeling compelled to share. Ugh, it's exhausting. Why? But I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep trudging through my compelled feeling and do it and feel through it and share myself feeling through it just because it's what feels right. Really, it's what feels right for me to do right now. And I don't even know why it feels right. It feels better not to. And that's the annoying thing. Like, like it makes me laugh because, a lot of, I do believe and fully wholeheartedly trust the energy of do what you love and, do things because you love them. And the thing is, I do love sharing, especially, I'm an emotional dude. I love sharing the feelings and I love talking about the feelings, and I feel compelled to share that more and kind of do that more publicly. And I guess because I just feel like in a lot of ways, because I want to help people. I really do want to help people as well. And sometimes I feel like the best way to help people really is just to openly be myself in public and share myself as I am. I gotta stop watching the timing on these. I'm about 4 minutes, dude. Four, almost. In fact, now it's 4:20, dude. Anyway, I digress. Stories. That's the main point. And as I guess something I've been contemplating a lot and feeling through a lot and living through a lot is I this is gonna be very autobiographical. I'm gonna go through some autobiographical rounds here. That I definitely have spent much of my life passively participating in others' stories, and in ways, in actually inserting myself into their story, and then not even like comfortably sitting in other people's stories in ways that it's been easier, safer for me to just be in the context of other people's stories instead of really creating and living my own story. I'm very aware of that part of myself more than ever right now. I mean, in part because I am one, like many in the world, who are. I've stepped out. I'm 2.5 years out of a situation where I very deeply stepped into a very intense story that wasn't my story, and like it felt safer for me in the beginning in the context of that story that really honestly became very self-destructive for me. For me to just live in someone else's version of who they believed I was or who they thought I am. And I've done that in so many different parts of my life. I've noticed in many ways. And I guess I want to say too that, and sometimes that's okay, right? There's actually context where it's not like, I don't really feel like living my story means I have to always put my story into everybody's face, right? I'm not here to like, this is my story, this is my story, this is my story. I'm just here to be my story, just like bring my own clarity to what my story is, and then just be that, right? I'm not one who's like feeling like I need to clarify my story, create my story, write my story, and put my story in people's, not in you or anyone else's face, and like, this is my story, hear my story. I'm more just, because I guess I'm a very neurodivergent talker, just so you're aware. Jump around. Woo, 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 woo. It's just how it's going to flow. I'm going to go back again. So even though I'm at this point where I'm realizing that I have spent so much of my life safely tucked away in the context of other people's stories and not really even looking or paying attention to me, my story in context of their stories, I have now also realized that as I've stepped away from that pattern more, and it's a ongoing, I'm not completely clear of it. I mean, it still affects me, right? Like, there's still times I realize that there's other people's stories when they project there's certain other stories that get projected onto me, that I get wrapped up in their story of me, right? And it's this constant like, whoa, what's mine, what's not, what's my story, and what of their story resonates with me, of me, and what of their story of me is just no thank you, right? And that's not who I am, not where I am, not what I am. But there are times that that's actually kind of nice, that it's actually okay to do. Like, I noticed myself in a social situation recently where there was a situation I just was not feeling, right? And decided to step away from. And honestly, then I noticed that a story was created by other parties around why I stepped away from that we'll call it that social situation. And honestly, I was like, well, that's cool. I don't need. They've created their own story, and that can be their story, and I don't need to argue or even let them know clarify with their story. I don't need to clarify my story to their story in that context. And honestly, it was just like, well, their story is already their story. It's not even necessary for me in that context to fix their story. It's not possible to fix their story, right? It's not. That's even a funny word. All these words don't really work. they're not really the right, but because there really is no purpose for me to even adjust someone else's story about me. And it's funny, like in this internet context, as I'm posting videos, it's like part of me gets stuck in this, like, I don't know how many people do watch this, will watch this, might watch this, and what their version is, what their story is of what I'm sharing, and then what investment do I have in that? And I guess I'm really more and more really letting go of that. And like, I see the reflections that are actually helpful for me, and I also see the BS that I'm just like, well, all right, y'all have fun with that, right? So it's just a fascinating element of I don't know. I'll be real. All this is about, just me figuring out myself, right? And I'm hoping, trusting is a better word that feels better. When I say a better word, it means it feels better to me. Trusting that the more I just do what feels right to me, that me being me and what feels right to me is actually going to be what's more helpful to others, right? I got really caught up, like 2 years ago, like pretty soon after I stepped out of that. There's about 10 years of really deep into someone else's story of me. And where I really started to get, because my path at that point, it was a traumatic part of my life, right? And I was trying to I was looking for the healing, also feeling my vibration again. There's been multiple periods of my life throughout even the last 30 years or more, where when I'm in my most like connected feeling, creative vibe especially, I feel vibration. I literally can feel it in my hands and my arms, in my body, and especially my hands get really active in my arms. I can feel energy. And I started to feel that again, like 2 years ago, after I really stepped out of that traumatic period and started to tap into, like, really kind of feel centered again. And I really felt this draw towards service, right? And I started to learn more modalities, feeling like, especially after going through some serious, tough period of my life, trying, that felt quite traumatic. Really wanting to also find paths that'll help others, right? Maybe even help some people from the situation that were in the situation that I had to step away from. But honestly, that at this point is completely the letting go element for me at this point. But just trusting that healing will be as it is supposed to be, as it will come, and for all parties. And the service drive, put yourself into service, put yourself into service, put yourself into service. And an element of that ended up feeling like, to do service, I felt driven for a bit to like learn modalities and maybe do these modalities to help people and then serve people that way, because that's actually a big part of, like, as I anyway started learning modalities, that was kind of a big push in that context of learning the modalities. And then I also was noticing and realizing that this may not be my form of service, right? And I guess now I really truly feel for all of us, the best service we can all do for each other is really work on ourselves. And that's because I was in that, I still am. I love so many amazing healers, spiritual workers, healers, all of that. But I do feel like there is a drive to push and get into the rat race version of that, which ends up becoming distracting, or it became distracting for me, as far as what I needed to do for myself as well. And really, ultimately, I feel the most the most effective service I could ever do for any of this, any of us, any of you, any of the world, is honestly work on myself. And that's really, at this point, turned into clarifying what my story is for myself. Because I really have noticed that I put so much of myself into other people's stories of me that I'm not even sure what my story is, right? Like, what is my story? Like, do I even need to know my story? Is there anything to really clarify, or is there just a being of my story, or whatever that story is? These are kind of where I spin a little bit sometimes. Spin, spin, spin. But really feel, right? Yeah. Just gonna close my eyes for a minute and feel. Like sometimes, I'm gonna be real, like I will just honestly sit sometimes in this chair, one of my other chairs in the house, or outside somewhere, or anywhere, and just feel for a moment the pause. And it's different than meditation, right? It's not a clearing of the mind type energy. It's more of a feeling the energies of where I'm at, and kind of even feeling the interwoven flow of it all as it just like glides around and through and everywhere, and feeling honestly the perfection of it all. Like their stories, their perceptions of me and my perceptions of them, and perceptions, your perceptions of me and my perceptions of you, and how this all just like dances and flows, and how what I hear, what people hear from me, and how they interpret what I say, and what I hear from them, and how I interpret what others say, and like even like the simplest, tiniest words can just mean so many different things to every single person that hears that one word. It'll feel and sound and mean something completely different, and it's so freaking amazing. Yeah. So I guess I'm part doing this to open up. I want to open up and do this in more open spaces, not in quiet corners. Not as in quiet corners, although I do still like the quiet corners. But allowing myself to feel that peace without tucking in all the time, you know? Because I do have a tendency to tuck in. Yeah. That's all I got for now. I gotta be real, this is like 20, I'm back on the time thing, and it's like almost 20 minutes. I don't even know this will load on the internets, but we'll see. Anyway, if you're here and you're still listening, I appreciate you. I love you. Thanks for being you. You're beautiful.